This episode is brought to you by Audible.
Why are you talking that way?
That's how you're supposed to do promos, Katrina. You got to show enthusiasm for our sponsors.
Audible is a fantastic service where you can download audiobooks.
There's over 180,000 books to choose from.
Am I doing it right?
You're totally doing it right. God, you're beautiful and smart and you're so good at these promos.
I know.
You can go to audibletrial.com/MDXpods and get a 30-day trial on us and a free book. And the best part is, do you know what the best part is, Katrina?
You have something to accompany you in LA Drive?
That, but you can also cancel the service and keep the book. It's great. It really is a win-win-win. Audible gets you to get their stuff and we get a little bit of money and you get a free audiobook. Just cancel that account and you can keep the book.
I don't think you should be telling them.
No, it's totally okay.
Don't tell them
It's
that.
totally fine.
Don't tell them that.
It's totally fine. On with the show.
Ruin my childhood.
Thank you for listening to Ruin My Childhood, the podcast where we decide if some things are better off left in the past. I'm Mike.
And I'm Kat.
And today we're going to be talking about a classic movie, Babe.
Babe.
What do you remember about Babe?
I remember next to nothing about Babe. I think the only thing I remember is actually from Babe, Pig in the City.
I've never seen Babe, Pig in the City, and I really wanted to see it, and I didn't get to. I still have never seen Babe 2, Pig in the City.
Which is funny, because every time you call me Babe, my mind automatically fills in the blank with Pig in the City.
See, for me, it's always That'll Do, Pig.
That'll do, Pig.
But
That'll do.
I actually remember bits of this movie. I remember really, really liking this movie as a kid. I remember Ba Ram You. I don't know what that means, but I remember the phrase.
You say it all the time.
I say it.
And I have no idea what you're doing.
And I don't know what it's... I don't remember what it... I just know it's from this movie. The other thing I remember is That'll Do, Pig. And I know that Babe becomes like a sheepdog. And that's it. I don't remember how he gets to that point. I can't tell you any of the other subplots.
Babe becomes a sheepdog?
Yeah, he's like a sheepdog.
Is
He's like
trans species a thing?
Well, he doesn't identify as a sheepdog as far as I can remember, but I think he just gets on the farm and helps the sheepdogs herd the sheep, and then maybe one of the dogs gets hurt or something like that and he has to take over, but I just know he herds sheep.
Now I got my wheels spinning with this whole trans species thing. There's transracial, apparently.
Maybe we should just watch the movie.
Do those people who think that they're werewolves identify as trans species?
I don't know, but that's beyond the scope of our podcast, and I think we should just go watch the movie.
I have questions.
Well, we'll watch the movie and we'll discuss that on a different day, just the two of us.
Bring your family to Hoggett's Farm. Come eggs, come fly, come big. Where ducks crow. Mice croon. And one special pig will capture your heart. MCA Universal Home Video presents Babe, now available on video cassette.
All right, so we just watched Babe, and hey Babe, what did you think?
That was a revelation. I love this movie. I had no idea I was gonna like this movie as much as I do. I'm ready to watch it again.
I don't think I want to watch it again.
It's like Edward Scissorhands meets The Secret of Roan Inish.
I hate Roan Inish.
It's because you're rude. And you hate everything from Isle of Man Pictures, which I adore.
I don't even know what
Waking
Isle of Man
Ned
is.
Divine? Come on, Mike.
So, Katrina, why don't you just summarize this movie for us, and then we'll just get into the discussion.
Oh, I'm really bad at summaries. Okay, so there's an adorable, sweet little pig. And, it's kind of like in this factory farming situation, which is really like factory farming light by today's standards. And so it's going through the whole like life cycle of farm pig. And then you see how these poor little piglets end up all alone without their mother because she gets sent off to be eaten. And pig naps, Snack Pig naps, Babe.
You've worked in Snack Dick to the last 3 or 4 of our podcasts, completely unrelated.
You need to just not note it and just let's see if we can work it into every single one for a few months.
No, I'm just gonna talk about what it is.
Don't talk.
So it's
No.
from
Mike,
Silicon
I am
Valley,
not
and that's
done.
it. Okay, so finish summarizing the movie.
Oh, this is hard. Okay, so Babe gets pig napped, and ends up in a raffle of sorts at a county fair. And it's not really clear exactly where this county fair is. Kind of looks like Ireland, but probably isn't. And he ends up on this farm, and he meets some fun animals and a couple of adorable dogs who teach him how to herd sheep.
Yep, pretty much. Just
It's better than it sounds, okay?
just to comment on some of your stuff, he wasn't pignapped. The person who owned the pig farm gave him to a friend who was running the carnival.
Well, the scene was very nefarious. It seemed like a pig napping.
Well, no, he came in and he's like, I need a pig for the fair. And the friend was like, just pick whatever one you want. And he picked Babe. And he's like, how much do you want for him? He goes, that's the runt. We don't even care. Take him. He's worthless.
I guess when you think about it, all pigs are pig-napped.
Yes. So
breed them and then take them away from their babies.
So James Cromwell is the farmer. And it's actually a really cute scene. So he's at the fair or the carnival or whatever it is, and he's walking by the booth, and one of the guys is like, hey, do you want to guess the weight of the pig? You can win the pig. He's like, I don't raise pigs. I don't need one. They're like, come on. So he picks up Babe, and he immediately goes quiet. And the guy goes, that pig has not stopped squealing since we got him. Like, now you got to keep him. And he also kind of looks at him like he's already in love with him, like as a pet.
How can you not be in love with that face?
Yeah, he was a very cute pig. And so it's really funny. So he starts to guess the weight. He's like 7 pounds and 5 ounces. And then Babe pees on him. And then he goes 7 pounds, 2 ounces. So that's the beginning of the movie. And then, yeah, he becomes a sheepdog. And it's pretty good. This movie's pretty dark in some points.
Were you starting to go into another full summary and
Nope.
then you just skipped to he becomes a sheepdog?
No, not at all.
All right. Yeah, the beginning of this movie is, it's showing the whole process of farming these pigs and the harsh reality. And it's actually like pretty dark for a kid's film.
And they have this like British narrator saying that all the pigs think that they're going to pig paradise when in reality their parents are getting slaughtered.
It's so sad.
And all the other pigs are happy, and then Babe is just like, Mommy.
No.
That's dark. And then
That's dark. It's so sad. But then like that got me thinking about like how much worse it actually is for pigs in those farms, which is just like a whole other can of worms.
Right. Well, so there's that. The whole processed meat farming thing is bad. But then when he gets to the farm, like none of the animals initially want to talk to him because they all know that pigs don't really serve a purpose in terms of like producing anything other than meat. So they don't want to get close to him because they know he's going to get killed and eaten. And he just, through luck, doesn't get eaten. And then they show a couple different animals get killed.
They do.
Like
but
dogs
when he first gets to the farm, he's like, I miss my mom.
And then a dog named Fly takes care of him.
Which you have an issue with the name Fly, and I don't understand.
It's just a weird name for a dog. I don't get it.
She's an adorable border collie.
She's a great
very,
dog.
very fast.
No,
she's the best dog.
And then, then there's a scene where the puppies get taken away from her. And so she's really sad.
And so that's when she adopts Babe.
Yeah, well, she already kind of adopted Babe before that. And then you had like this dark story about like Rex, who's voiced by Hugo Weaving.
So random.
Right. Who was this like champion sheep herder who stayed out all night trying to rescue some sheep during a flood and got like hearing loss. So he like lost the competition like the next day. And he's got like a chip on his shoulder. And he's like very much like, animals need to be in a hierarchy. They need to do what they want. So he initially like hates Babe and he attacks his wife, Fly, over it. So like they start sedating him.
Some domestic abuse stuff happening here.
Right. Well, and then there's like a race.
Okay, we need to like go in chronological order because you're like skipping to the end of the movie.
I'm not skipping to the end of the movie at all.
Yes, you are.
We're going over the themes right now.
It's not revealed what Rex's issue is until like almost the last quarter of the movie.
Right, but we're not summarizing the entire movie. We're talking about the themes right now. We're talking about how it's dark. So we're talking about shattered dreams. We're talking about domestic violence. And also racism is very heavy in this movie.
Is it like that shot with the chickens dividing themselves by color?
Well,
like there's the brown chickens and the white chickens, and I was like, oh, dang.
That wasn't a race thing. That was that's where James Cromwell kind of realized that Babe can organize things, because Babe made the chickens do that. So maybe Babe's slightly racist. But no, the real racism comes from the dogs. Like, they're constantly telling all the animals that sheep are inferior, they're stupid. And when Babe is learning how to
when
be
Babe first arrives, she's telling her puppies, like, they're stupid. Pigs are stupid.
and then he's like, no, we're not. And then then she's telling them how stupid sheep are. And then he becomes friends with the sheep, which Ma, and she, like, there's a really great scene. He's like, what are you? She's like, I'm a ewe. And he goes, you're me? No, I'm a ewe sheep, which I loved. But the sheep later throughout the movie are getting abused by different dogs, and they yell at them all the time, and they're always being told how stupid they are. And then there's a point where Babe's in trouble, and they need to talk to the sheep, and the mom dog is like yelling at the sheep, basically calling them idiots and ignorant. And the entire movie is just like classist warfare, racism against sheep.
The whole point of that is that it's showcasing how bad and pointless racism is, because none of them were stupid. Sorry. None of them were stupid. None of them were really mean. They were just presenting these aspects of themselves to each other, and that's where the prejudice came from.
Right. And then, like the scene, then there's like psychological warfare with the cat telling Babe what the purpose of meat is, and that they're gonna kill him. And there's a point where they were gonna kill him with a gun.
Right. I like that the farmer. Okay, so one of the sheep gets killed, and Babe is, like, it's a really sad, kind of screwed up scene where this sheep gets killed and Babe is horrified and all the sheep end up getting PTSD. But, like, Babe is nosing at the sheep trying to get her to get up.
Because it was Ma. He loved her.
Exactly. So he had blood on his nose. The farmer comes out, looks at, okay, how would a pig kill a sheep?
Well, a pig could definitely kill a sheep.
A wild boar could kill a sheep.
Pigs are
sweet
smart.
Little pig?
Pigs are smart. Well, that scene was crazy.
The little teeths?
Can I talk about that scene real
Yes.
quick? So, there's a scene where a bunch of people are trying to steal the farmer's sheep, and Babe just happens to be out and sees it, so he starts making a bunch of noise, and the dogs come, and that's when James Cromwell first decides that maybe this pig has something to him. And then later on, he's actually out with the sheep, and these dogs come and start just harassing the sheep. So he, like, comes sprinting and then just runs right into a dog, like, probably breaks a bunch of ribs in this dog.
Right.
And then the sheep gets bitten by one of the dogs, and he scares off the rest of the dogs. And that's why, James Cromwell thinks that possibly he killed him. But he gets a gun instead of, like...
Well, it's just odd that he would think that his adorable little pig could kill a sheep, like,
right,
and cause those kinds of wounds.
Well, they mention it, like, one of the dogs or the narrator says something about how that's where they get most of their money. So anytime something happens to a sheep,
of course,
any animal that hurts a sheep is automatically going to get killed. But earlier in the movie, he was prepping, like, his knife so he can slit Babe's throat and drain the blood. Why would you not just do that and eat him? But instead he gets a gun.
A double-barreled shotgun,
like,
no
he's going
less.
to blow his brains and splatter it, like, the entire barn with Babe brains.
Yeah, that was a little bit of overkill there. I mean, like, I know he's a sheep farmer, but come on.
Right. And, I mean, like I said, the movie's pretty dark, but I think we should shift to one of the lighter things. And there was something that came from this movie that I literally do every time we watch a movie with subtitles, and I forgot where I got it from, and it was this. So, in this movie, it's separated into, like, 5 or 6 acts, and each act has, like...
They're chapters.
And the screen goes black, has, like, a little title sequence, and there are these 3 mice who, in a very loud, not loud, but very high-pitched voice, read the subtitles. So one of them is, like, crime and punishment, and they're like, crime and punishment! And literally every time we watch a movie with subtitles, I read the subtitles in that high voice. And I knew it was mice, but I forgot what movie it was from. So as soon as it happened the first time, I literally, like, jumped off the couch and was like, this is what it's from!
This is why I've been telling you to stop doing that for a decade.
Yep. And I'm never gonna.
So that's the only downside to this movie. One thing I do not understand about this film is why it looks so freaking British.
It was, I can tell you why.
Why?
So this was an Australian production,
Mm-hmm.
and it was filmed in New South Wales,
Which is Australia.
which is Australia, which is kind of like British light because they sent their criminals there.
I'm pretty sure there are other people not descended from criminals in Australia.
Nope, they're all, well, yeah, the Aborigines.
Oh, God. They tried their damnedest. Okay, so yeah, the movie seems really, really British, and the settings look like they could be Ireland. The houses look English or Irish or
And the narrator's
European.
English.
Yeah, and occasionally there are different actors in this that sort of fall in and out of British
Right.
accents. Yet, Babe has an American accent.
James Cromwell, his wife, the farmer's wife, all
It's
the animals.
Completely confusing, and some of the characters. Most
Yeah,
of the characters.
Mostly,
You
yeah,
know, I
it's weird.
couldn't really figure out exactly what type of accent they were putting on, because the more I thought about it, the more I'd be listening for the main actors, the farmer and his wife, and the less clear it became.
Yeah, because the farmer's wife almost had like a don't you know, like I
Don't you know.
don't you know, Minnesota kind of accent,
I'll go
and
for
then-
why.
and then James Cromwell just did his voice.
Right.
Which, can I tell you a little fact
But
about?
he has so few lines, it's also hard to garner any type of accent from those lines.
I'm glad you mentioned the lines. So James Cromwell only did this movie because he thought it would be an easy movie because he only had 61 words or something. Oh no, sorry, it was like 111 words spoken, and 60 of them were in song. So he did this movie thinking it was just going to be some easy movie, but he's in a lot of scenes doing physical labor, shearing sheep, putting up a fence, doing all this farm dog stuff,
Dancing a wee
dancing a jig.
jig.
So yeah, he
Poor
ended up,
guy.
ended up being like, this movie had more screen. He had more screen time in this movie than any of his other movies.
It's such a great role, though, and it gives him a chance to emote on a level that most other films don't
He was
supply
great.
to actors, because the fewer lines you have, the more you're relying on this different set of acting skills, the physicality and the weight of your movements.
He petitioned for an Oscar. He spent like $60,000 of his own money.
I think it's so sad when people petition.
Right. Well, this movie won some Oscars, so it was nominated for Best Picture, and it actually won for Best Visual and Special Effects.
I can see that, and it's
The puppets were
it's
amazing.
not bad.
I honestly thought going into this movie it was going to be like Homeward Bound, where it was just dogs and there was just going to be like voiceover, or it was going to be really bad, like Mr. Ed. They give the animals something to eat, so their mouths are just moving.
And I hate talking animals in movies.
But this was really, so they used a combination of animatronics, puppets, and actual animals,
Mhm.
and it looked pretty good. Like, it looked really good.
I think it's because they didn't go too heavy on the teeth. I think
I
that's
think
where a lot
so.
of these movies go wrong.
Well, a lot of so we went and saw Peter Rabbit the other day, right? And there was a trailer.
Loved it.
There was a trailer for some movie with Will Arnett where he plays like an undercover cop in a dog show, and all the animals were like their CGI mouth moving stuff, and they had like human teeth.
Yeah, it's
It doesn't make
creepy.
any sense.
It's really creepy.
You know what's kind of creepy?
What?
It makes me really uncomfortable watching movies like this and Peter Rabbit where the animals are talking. Now, in Peter Rabbit, it turns out they can actually talk and the humans can hear them at the end of the movie. But in this one, the humans don't know that the animals are smart, but they are as intelligent as people. They have full-on conversations. They strategize. For all intents and purposes, they're people trapped in animal bodies, and it makes me really uncomfortable to watch a movie where the animals are as smart as humans, can communicate the way we do. It just creeps me out a little bit.
Well, it's because we want to anthropomorphize everything and give them more complex emotions. Otherwise, the entire movie would be like, food, 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 food. Is
Right.
it time to eat? Food.
Right, I get it for the premise of the movie, but it's just like,
I mean, like
It's
you on a
r-
weekend.
right, but it makes it really uncomfortable because it's like, they're all like subservient to man, and it's just really weird. And like, they all know that they're like, a bunch of them know they're gonna be killed. Like the duck, that we haven't talked about the duck in this movie at all, who's probably
The
my favorite character in
Duck
the
was
book.
a crackhead.
So a quackhead.
Oh no, Mike! It's like that. That was so bad. It's like I can taste it. Oh God.
So the duck in this movie is kind of like the rebel on the farm, and he also thinks he's going to take over for the rooster when the rooster decides he doesn't want to crow anymore.
He's
And
less rebel, more mentally unstable.
yeah, he's definitely unstable.
He's
so
a conspiracy theorist.
He convinces Babe to break into the house while the humans are gone to break the alarm clock because now they don't need the rooster, and he wants to be the new rooster, but he can't do it himself because he's allergic to cats. But Babe almost destroys like a bunch of stuff in the house, so he ends up going in there, and because of that, the farmer ends up deciding he's going to kill the duck for Christmas. Or was it Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving? It was Christmas, right? Yeah, for Christmas dinner.
Duck à l'orange.
And then there's this like terrible scene where like you don't see the duck for a while. You're like, oh, no one's seen him. And then you see the farmer go in and you hear a whack, 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 like a knife thing.
Right.
And so you're like, oh man, they got him. And then you see this like cooked duck on the table. And then a few minutes later, you see him come up. They're like, oh no, my girlfriend. Like his girlfriend duck got killed.
Yeah.
Once again, it's dark.
I think he did it on purpose. He
Probably.
made sure that she was in the right spot
Yeah,
at the right time.
Really messed up. Oh man. What else? The ending was interesting. So basically, James Cromwell takes him to be a farm dog at this like sheep dog at this sheep herding competition.
There were a few arcs. Like the characters in this movie actually had some good substance behind them.
Oh, I agree.
You learn, what Rex's issue is and why he's so grumpy and hates his life and, his fall from grace and that whole storyline. But you also see that he's got a good heart, and the whole reason that he's like that is because he was traumatized by this horrible thing that happened, and it was out of him trying to save the sheep.
I do like that James Cromwell ended up using the fax machine that his kids got him.
I do enjoy that.
And
yes.
That's the thing that made the movie like you don't really know when this movie takes place. Like it could have easily been in the 60s or the 30s. Or the 40s, like based off his car. Like his car looked like it was in the 50s or the 50s or 60s.
Right, yeah, he drove like a 50s truck. So it could have been at any point in between there and 1995.
Right.
But the only thing that tips you off is that they get a fax machine.
Right. Because like all the people, like everybody in the movie dresses like Leave It to Beaver. Like,
right.
So I was kind of confused about the timeline until the Christmas scene. Because other than the fax machine, like all the gifts that they got the grandchildren were like old timey toys, like dollhouses and like wooden cars and stuff like that.
Right.
So it was really hard to kind of pinpoint where it was until that.
I loved that about this movie, though.
It's timeless.
They created this aesthetic that is absolutely timeless, and it's just gorgeous. Like the lighting is gorgeous, the cinematography is gorgeous, the sets. There is so much attention to detail that this is on par with. For me, and this is saying a lot, this is on par with any Wes Anderson, Tim Burton film that I can think of.
Visually, it was great. The
Visually,
lighting
there's so much
great.
detail, and it's gorgeous. It's absolutely a pleasure to watch it.
This was a 10-year dream passion project for George Miller.
Which is another weird
thing. So, for those of you who are not in the know, George Miller is the one responsible. He's most famous for the Mad Max movies. So, he got famous doing all those Mad Max movies.
The problem is there were only 2 directors in all of Australia, and Baz Luhrmann was busy.
So he really wanted to do this. The book came out in like 1981, and then it said, I read 2 different articles. One said it was a 7-year passion project. One said 10. So realistically, he decided he wanted to do this movie somewhere between Road Warrior and Beyond the Thunderdome. And
which is so weird, because when you're in the headspace of working on a film, it consumes everything. Like, it can change aspects of your personality. For him to have followed through with this film in between those two is completely bizarre.
He only produced and wrote this one because he was directing something else. Like, he did a bunch of like other smaller movies, and then he directed the sequel, Pig in the City. But he was the writer and producer of this one, and he wanted to wait until the special effects were good enough to be able to do it to the quality he wanted. But yeah, this was a movie that was in the process of being made for almost 10 years.
Well, and I was actually really surprised at how well the special effects held up. There were a couple weird moments with the puppets.
I didn't notice anything bad. You said like that looked really bad. I thought it looked great.
Well, it's just because those little pigs they used are so adorable. Then occasionally you get this like gnarly nose in the action.
One. Yeah, there was like 1 or 2 scenes where I noticed them. Like that was definitely a puppet. But for a lot of the other ones, like the sheep, they looked fantastic.
I loved the various toupees that they put on Babe.
Right. So they used 48 pigs because pigs grow really, really quick at that age.
They're so cute.
So they used they used a bunch of different pigs and put like toupees and fake eyelashes on them because the first couple pigs they used had like hair on the top of their head and some long eyelashes. So they had to do that for all the other pigs.
I mean, the toupee, no big deal. Like, how do you put eyelashes on a pig?
I don't know. It's like putting lipstick on a pig.
No.
Ha! Got another one.
Right. What was I gonna say?
I don't know.
You completely threw me off. One of my only complaints about this film is that like a good chunk of the humans' lines seem like they're ADR.
Yeah, definitely the farmer's children, the adult characters.
I'd say like solidly 50% of the dialogue in this movie sounds like ADR.
It really did. Maybe it's because like the animatronics were loud or something because it was still the 90s.
Right.
So maybe it has something to do with all this stuff going on in the background of this, and I'm sure there was a lot of animals on set too.
Right.
So I'm sure most of the stuff was ADR'd.
I mean, throughout this movie, I was just marveling at how difficult it must have been to get some of these shots, especially, I mean, like, there are really fantastic animal trainers and they do an amazing job, but there's only so much you can do with a 3-month-old pig,
Right.
realistically. And there were so many shots, and it would just baffle me because the lighting was so exquisite and perfect, and the shots were so gorgeous. And there wasn't a lot of this, you know, cutting to a tight shot just to get the sequence of the pig walking through the door perfectly. They had to have done so many takes to have gotten these animals in the right place at the right time and have it look absolutely gorgeous and be able to pull focus
Right,
for this
because
perfect
this was
shot.
still 90s, so it would have been on film.
It's incredible. Like, really, I was absolutely marveling at how difficult this film must have been to create.
And the lighting, even I don't notice like cinematography and lighting stuff very, very much, but I remember the scene where the wife goes to leave and like there's about to be a storm. So like the sky was this like purplish color, and then you see her get in the bus and you kind of had this like shot that was like looking through the windows of the bus and like looking out to the farm at the same time. And it looked amazing. Like I don't know how to describe it. It looked beautiful.
It was incredible. And I just really admire people who can pull off things with animals, much less make it beautiful. Like, I was on set with a bunch of kids today, and like that was murder. Like, trying to get children who like supposedly understand what you're saying to them to cooperate is so much easier than getting animals to cooperate. And yet there we were for, 10 hours not finishing a single scene. So I really have to hand it to these people who work with animals.
So do you have anything else to talk about with this movie?
I don't know. Not really. I mean, it's interesting how many times throughout the course of this podcast we have revisited these children's movies and found that there's some really dark stuff in there. Like when they kill Ma and he pulls up out front of the house with her on the back of the truck, like there's a close-up shot of her with her tongue hanging out. Usually in kids' movies, if they kill someone, you just know it happened. Like you hear it happening or you hear their silence all of a sudden, and like that's dark enough. They straight up show Ma get killed.
Well, I know with
They show quite a lot of death, but that's real life. Like on a farm, death is every day.
Yeah. I do know with both of the movies, they had to submit it to like the rating board multiple times to get it from a PG. They wanted it to be G, so they did it a couple times to get it down to a G.
This was G?
I think so. I know for a fact the second one is. Maybe this one wasn't, but I know they really pushed for the second one to be G.
Yeah, it has some dark themes, but I don't remember being traumatized by this as a child.
I don't remember that either.
There were some things in film and television that definitely distinctly traumatized me, and they're seared into my memory. So, I don't think this affected me as a child.
I don't remember if it affected me as a child. I remember really liking this movie, and it's not one that I owned. And I probably haven't seen this movie since before I was 10 years old.
Right. And, it's really surprising to me that I remember so little about this film, and yet this was such an enjoyable, warm, fuzzy experience. And I honestly, genuinely loved this film. I think it's beautiful. I think it's entertaining, and it's a great family film, which is pretty rare.
Right. For me, so I'm gonna assume that it did not ruin your childhood.
No.
For me, I'm gonna say it didn't ruin my childhood. I don't have the same feeling as you. Like, it was all right. I liked it. I don't think I don't think I'd watch it again unless I was watching it with some children.
It's really chill.
Like, it was a good movie, but it didn't hit me in the nostalgia like.
But we
part
didn't
of my
talk
body.
about the end of the movie.
I thought the end of it was triumphant and cheeky and perfect.
It was a good ending, and overall, like, for me, I it was a great movie. Like, I guess it just didn't affect my childhood as much because I didn't get that nostalgia feeling watching this movie. So it definitely didn't ruin. I was pleasantly surprised. Like, it was a very good movie, but I don't feel like me personally that I would watch it again unless I was watching it with some children. Is that fair?
I mean, I'm gonna cuddle up alone and watch this by myself next week then.
That's fine. You do you, girl.
I will.
So, Miss Katrina, what are we going to be watching next episode?
Well, speaking of delightful and cheeky and triumphant, we are watching Matilda.
I like Matilda.
I love Matilda.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
I think it's been about 5 years since I last watched
Really?
it. Yeah.
Wow, I don't think I've watched it since I lived with my parents.
What? I thought we watched it together.
I don't recall watching it
I'm
with you.
pretty sure we've watched it together.
It's possible, but I don't recall watching it any time in the last few years.
Anyway, it's going to hold up. I know it's going to hold up.
I hope so. For your sake.
Don't you curse me.
All right, so Katrina, where could our fans find you?
I am all over the internet at Katrinaosity. Check out my YouTube channel, and I'm on Twitter, even though I don't use it as often as I should. And speaking of Twitter, we are going to be trying something new with this podcast, where we figured, since we always tell you what our next episode is going to be about, that you guys tweeted us what you remember about our next film or TV show that we are covering.
So either tweet at MDXpods or at Katrinaosity, or just use the hashtag RuinMyChildhood, and we will try to maybe read one or two tweets on our next episode.
I guarantee we will read however many tweets are sent to us on our next episode, and we will be lucky if we get one or two. So please tweet at us. Let us know what you remember about Matilda.
And if you're interested in anything else that's MDX Pods related, you can check us out at mdxpods.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all at MDX Pods. And we're on that weird new social media Vero, which is really weird. I don't trust it. I don't know what it is, but we're on
Does it
there.
even work?
Yeah, it works now. It's slow, but it works. And you can support the show at patreon.com/MDXpods if you want to throw a couple bones our way. And other than that, thank you guys for listening.
All right, bones are great, but money would be better. Thanks for listening.